Hello, welcome to Painting with Jasmine Rumpel Art. I'm Jasmine and today I'm going to work on a Christmas card. I want to do a card with round ornaments. I'll be starting by telling you the materials that I'm going to use and then we'll get started. So I have here a Strathmore watercolor card. I get it from Amazon. It's 140-pound cold pressed. I've been using these for 2 years and I really like them. They work well for my cards. I have here just a canning lid. I'm going to be using it to trace my circles, a small circle and a large one. I have a pencil and a kneadable eraser. I have some kosher salt that I might end up using. Table salt would work just fine too if you don't have kosher salt. I have some water, paper towel, a little spritzer to activate my paint, and I'll just spray it now while I'm chatting about it. This paint is Windsor professional level watercolor paint, and I also have some fine Tec Pearlescent paint that I will use as well as we go along. For my brushes, I have a variety of round brushes that I may end up using. I have a number 10 round. I have a 6 and a 0, so really small, medium, and large round brush, and a rigger brush, also called a liner brush, and this is a number 1. I'm using Black Velvet, the Silver series, and this is a Windsor synthetic sable. Okay, I think that's all the materials I'm going to use. If there's more that pop up as we go along, I will tell you about them. So let's get going. Let's start by tracing the little ball on the bottom. I'm doing it kind of off center. I'll do this quite dark so that you can see it. And then let's do the larger one. I want to overlap it. I'm just trying to decide. I think I'll overlap it on top of this one. And again, off center. Great. And I'll do what I can to erase this line. I'll be using blue here and I'll make it dark so that will help hide the line. I pressed harder than I normally press so that you are able to see what I'm doing. And this is my nail polish. I really need to start using different nail polish because when I do art, it goes on, and this is actually quite hard to come off, but that's okay. It'll look like some kind of a reflection from the tree. All right, so just drawing a little rectangle up here, part of one, and here. The curve at the top of it. And I won't bother on this side with that. Great. That's it for drawing. It's time to move on to some color. Fun. Okay, I'm feeling that my number 10 might be, actually it'll be a good size for this one. So I'm going to start with wet on wet. I'm just going to paint water inside this circle. I want to try to get it so you can see. There we go. I'm trying to stay inside my line. Now this idea I got from looking online at a variety of sites, including Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram. Lots of people are doing these Christmas balls in lots of different ways. And so I decided to give it a go myself in my own way. Okay, that's nice and wet. It's wet enough that I can see a sheen and that it's being absorbed into the paper, but it's not so wet that it's running outside my lines or making puddles. I don't want that. I kind of basically want it to be damp. And now I'm going to reach for Prussian Blue. And when I fill in this ball, I'm going to leave some spaces for little light reflections. If you look closely at metallic ornaments, not metallic, reflective ornaments, perhaps metallic or glass on a Christmas tree, you will find that there are so many reflective lights, because if there's lights on the tree, that is. I'm going to try to aim for this side to be a little darker than the right side. Clean off my brush a little bit to dilute the color. Almost there. A little dark area here too, I think. Good. Nice. Now I got a little bit of paint on the outside, so I'm reaching for my number 0 brush and a tissue. I always have tissues around. I forgot to mention that as a supply. What I did is I got my number 0 wet, took a little water off, and I ran it along the outside, and then I dried it, and what happened is it picked up that color, so I actually don't need the tissue. It's a little bumpy down here as well, but I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, that's good. I'm going to let that dry and begin to think about the color on this one and up here. So let's do up here. I'm going to reach for this into my Quinacridone Gold, and I'm actually going to do this wet on dry. I'm going all the way across. And I'm going to come in with a little bit of violet into this quinacridone to dull the color a bit. And I'm going to put some of that here where my more of a shadow side is. And then I'm going to get a drier brush that's clean and lift a bit from this side. Make it lighter. A little highlight there. And a little more, oops, of the violet. I took blue. I'll just clean that off. A little more of the violet. And darken that up. It's still damp enough that I can work in it. Once it starts to dry, I would stop. Okay, that's good. I'm going to take some of this color and put it here as well. I'm not planning to have any, that's the Quinacridone Gold. I'm not planning to do any background color in here. These silver brushes are very, reaching for some violet again, they're very, they have lovely fine tips, so I can use them to draw with in little detail. Great, that's good for now. I'm going to move into this. This is still a little damp, but I can work in this area. It's dried enough here if I'm careful. All right, I'm reaching for my number 6. And again, I'm just going to get this area wet. Trying to allow you to see the sheen here. That's why I'm moving around. There you go. You can see that. Okay. Again, I'm not using so much that it's going to run off the page or out of my circle. I just want enough wet that it makes the paper damp. All right, get this little area carefully. Not wanting to go into that blue very much well, not wanting to go into that blue at all. Okay, good. Starting to dry a bit here, so again, the cotton in the paper is absorbing the water. Okay, for this ball, I'm wanting to use my Quinacridone Gold because I love it, and it ends up looking like gold on the ball. And it's a lovely contrast to the blue. I maybe should have done the gold in the front, now that I think about it, because it's such a warm color. It will compete with the blue. Blues tend to recede, but that's okay. It's okay. What I did there is I cleaned my brush and I dried it, and I just made a little highlight, a big highlight. I'll go back in there and get more of that yellow in there so it's not quite so big. Good. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of that violet again, put it in the quinacridone, and add that nice darker shade into some areas. Particularly on the left side. Maybe right here where there might be a shadow from the ball on top. Okay. I was feeling that highlight was a little big. Great. I'm going to get my zero, get it wet. I want to pick up a little bit of this. I put wet on it, clean wet brush. Now I'll dry my brush off and I'll work to pick that up. The dry brush will drink up the water, the paint there, the wet paint. And again. This time I'll use my tissue. Okay. Nice. Getting my brush wet here. I'm just going to tap it a few spaces. And that's going to create some nice little blooms that might read as twinkling lights, lights reflecting. All right, so let's get this violet mix. It's quite wet, so I'll take some of it from here as well to make it a little more a little less diluted. Okay. And there we go. A little more water I need on my brush. This is wet on dry, which is why I needed to grab a little more water. That's quite dark. I'm adding water here. That will pull the color area. And I'm going to take a little more of the pure Quinacridone Gold and add that in, because I felt it was quite dark. That helps. Good. That works. Yep. Let's actually take a little bit here as well. And a little bit of water. Sorry for the whispering. Oh goodness. When I concentrate, I end up getting quiet, and I forget that I'm doing a video. And maybe you have to, sorry if you have to turn up your volume there. Okay. I need to stop fussing with that. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to have to go in there once it's dry and add a little more paint because there's a white spot. Okay, now we're going to work on the background. The idea is to first do a wet on wet bleeding out area with a variety of greens. And then once it's dry, to paint on some branches, and the same on the other side. I also put a bit of salt here, and here I used a wet brush to create blooms. We might do both, and we will see. All right. I don't want a 0-0 for this. I'm trying to decide. Yeah, I think that I'll use this brush. This is my number 10. And I need some greens. So my gold. And I'm going to mix that with the Prussian. A lot of the Prussian Blue to start, to make it quite deep. And I'm going to reach for a little bit of indigo. There we go. Now I did say I was going to do wet on wet, but I'm changing my mind. So here's wet on dry. There's so many ways we could do this. We'll start with this. Lots of paint there. So I'm going to bleed it out with another color. Good. And now that this has more of the gold in it, so it's a warmer. I'm going to grab a bit more of the gold, mix it in, and even warmer. It comes out, a bit more of the blue, change it up. Oops, we'll clean that up later. Good. And more of the blue. Some of the indigo. Ooh, that's going to be dark, but that's okay. Be nice. Okay. Up here, I'm just going to get this wet. More of that gold. Let it bleed out into this area. And into this area. It had dried here, so I'm going to have to re-wet it a bit carefully. Okay. Trying to work quickly. And I'll just let that bleed out there. Okay, now we want to get some salt in there. And I'm going to get I just dropped a bit of salt, as you saw, and I'm going to get my number 0, and it's wet, and I'm going to begin doing some little dabs of water here and there, and that's going to create blooms, because ultimately what I'm trying to represent is the tree in the background. So I'm okay with blooms because they're going to be like light in the background. All right, now I don't want to play around with that anymore. I'm going to let it dry, and I'm going to do a bit on this side now. I just don't like this hard edge, so I'm just rubbing it a bit, softening it, bring it out. Okay. This time I'm going to do wet on wet. So I'm wetting my brush. This is my number 10 again. And I've got water on this brush. I'll pull that out. And up. Good. All right. Just some greens this time. Just going to mix a bunch of greens as I go along. No rhyme or reason, really, just more intuitive. And they're bleeding out into this area. Try to make them a little more branch-like this time. A little bit of gold in there. So pretty. And I've tilted my board so that there's a bit of, there's the indigo, so that there's a bit of that bleeding out going on. I'm trying to encourage it to go up near the top. Putting a little more water will encourage it to move. This is drying, so I better go quick. That's going to end up having a bit of a bloom, but that's okay. I'll just, there. Tap that in there. Blooms are okay. Okay, now cleaning my brush, but still it's damp, and so there's water on it, and we'll encourage that to kind of bleed out a bit as well. Good. Okay. A little bit of salt. A few blooms. And let that dry. Looks rather wild. I definitely like this side better than this side. So wet on wet in my next ones is the way to go. That's okay. It's all about learning. And the thing about art is it's so subjective. Someone may actually prefer this side to that side. Okay, let's get the metallic paint out. And let's add some decorations to this bowls. I'm going to use my liner brush for this, and I'm going to use this nice gold. It's called Pearl Gold. And I'm going to put this on the blue, just getting it nice and wet. I want lots of paint on here. Okay. Let's just do a nice little curve. I'm going to break it up in some spots. And another one. Pretty. The curve is, if you're new to drawing or design, the curve is important because it gives that illusion of it being three-dimensional, giving it a roundness. And for this one, I'll use blue. This is called Sapphire Blue in this particular palette. When it goes on, it definitely looks dark. It needs to be in a certain light for the viewer to see the metallic portion of it, the glitter. Oops. I went a little higher than I wanted. That's okay. Maybe I'll use that for a leaf. And do another one. Look like I'm meant to do that. And then bring it up here. Good. And down below. Is it going to be perfect? No. Can't. It just can't be. I stress myself out if I try to be perfect in my art. Nice. Okay, let's see if I can show you the actual glitter. There's the gold. The blue is harder to see. Just needs the right light. There you go. I think you can see that up on the top one. Great. Okay, almost done. Looking pretty magical. We need just a little line here. I think I'll use my 00 brush and this blue. Need some more. Nice. And we're going to need it to go up in here. This is, oops, I just rubbed off a bit of salt. A no-no, but it's okay. It's branches. It really doesn't matter if there's extra lines. We just want a blue coming up here as well. And this is damp, so I'm not going to chance it. In fact, I'm going to turn this off and I'm going to blow dry it. So I'm back, and while I had my video turned off, I added some decor, and you can see here on the bottom I've just done circles within the ball, and I'm just showing what I did on the top. I started in the center and I worked my way out, And as I got closer to the edges, I made my circles more oval shaped so that, again, it would give that look of the illusion of a three-dimensional illusion. There we go. Kept them lighter here too, because I've got all these highlights. Okay, also I went into my leaf shape and I added some gold into the leaves, and I like it, so I'm going to just show it to you a little closer, so again you can see that metallic effect. Really pretty. All right, so this is dry and I rubbed off the salt. I love how it looks like light's coming down from the top there. I'm not loving this portion. So what I'm going on, I guess it could read as a green garland, perhaps. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try a little bit of bokeh effect in here. And so to do that, I'm going to grab a different brush. I'm going to grab my number 2 and I'm getting it wet. And what I'm going to do right here is I'm just going to build a circle with my wet brush. Once I have that circle, I get my tissue and I just do some lifting. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And once I'm committed to this bokeh effect, I'll need to make circles in various places. So I'll show you again how I do it. So I'm just going to make a circle here. And then once I show you the technique, I will do some on time lapse. Oh, that's nice. That looks a lot better. So I'm going to do a few to break up this line and then some here and there. So I'll move to time lapse here. Just have to figure out how. Okay, excuse me for a minute. I'm still figuring out. Oh, for goodness sakes. Maybe I won't do time lapse. Nope, not going to go there. For some reason today, I'm not able to. So I'll just do this on real time. If you want to fast forward this, so you're not watching me do a bunch of bobbles, go for it. Fast forward to the next section. But if you enjoy watching, listening, and if you're working along with me, it's actually nice to have a real time. And if you're working along with me, I'm sure that you've realized that it's nice to pause the video here and there. So I've got some very similar size circles, so now I want some smaller ones. And this just adds that nice extra kind of, just thinking where I want another one. I'll put right here. It adds that extra look of light. Which is great for a Christmas tree, isn't it? If you've joined me today, you can share your picture with me that you do, you can find me on Instagram and send me a message there on Jasmine Rempel Art. Love to see yours. Or you can find me on Facebook. On Facebook, I'm just Jasmine Rempel. The Jasmine Rempel Art account, I just don't have time to spend a lot of time on there. So it's my personal account, but I put a lot of art on it because that's what I do personally. So you can definitely add me as a friend, or you can just send me a message and show me what you're up to or how you were inspired by this. And that way I can actually be inspired by you too. I love seeing the art that people do when they follow my tutorials. All right, let's do a couple up at the top and then we'll call that good. And it does look good. I'm loving it. Now, if you struggle with doing circles, there is a tool you can use to make these. And I'll get that out and I'll show you. I tend to like to freehand, but there is other options. So here I have a stencil with a ton of circles. So I'll do one with this to show you. How about right over here maybe? Again, just going right in there with the brush and all around in here. And then just putting the tissue right in there and then lift, and you've got a nice circle there. So you could get yourself one of those circle stencils. I just got mine on Amazon. I'm just gonna fix up this one. Okay, and one more little guy. Lovely. Can't see him. Bigger guy. That's better. That actually is gorgeous. Okay, now I was going to do some of these, but because I have my bouquet balls, I don't want to. I'm just going to leave it like this. Maybe I will do another video, another YouTube showing branches after this one. So you can, if you want to see how I did those, how I do the branches, just look for another video coming. I'm going to sign this and peel it back. J. Rempel. Peel off the tape. Oh, I forgot my words. My joy and peace. Goodness. Okay. And I've got my liner brush here. And I will do this with my Prussian Blue. There's Joy. this Christmas season definitely brings these feelings to me. Lovely. It looks very custom made with this because I'm not that great at lettering. Something I'm working on learning. Just remembered that I don't have, you've probably already noticed, that I don't have my line for the, for this one. It would go up here, up, 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 from here, and I'll double it up. There we go. I'll go lift it in some areas so it's not quite so dark. Just rubbing a brush along it, a wet brush. Good. Ta-da! What a lovely border. All right. Thank you so much for joining me in creating this beautiful Christmas card. I still have time to get it out to them in the mail to a family member. Have a wonderful Christmas season. God bless and happy creating. Bye for now.